Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Who Dares Wins podcast. I'm your host, JP. And since our last episode together, um, we talked about, or I talked about, Caitlin Clark, her being on the Indiana Fever, her being actually the number one pick in the WNBA draft for 2024. She's currently, I think, 2-8, maybe 1-8, but I think she's won a game since then. So it's like she's won a couple games so far since that time period of the recording, and so yeah. And then prior to that episode, I talked with you guys about Bill Walton, and just remembering Bill Walton, remembering who he was, and the sort of legacy that he leaves to the NBA. That Bill Walton was a Hall of Famer, but he wasn't just like a Hall of Famer. Like, I mean, he was like a great man, and and I shared in the episode with like how I was ignorant of that fact, and I would just really like deal with him like whatever, like, like, who are you, you know and and so today what I'd like to do is, my plan is that I have been, for the previous few episodes, talking to you about Jerrod Carmichael and his show, the reality show, the Jerrod Carmichael reality show, and I wanted to yeah, just kind of talk about that, talk about like these recent episodes. The show's over now. All the episodes have been posted. They're all like on the Max app, HBO Max. Um but I wanted to talk about it because it's like I felt like Jerrod Carmichael, for all practical purposes, is like, I feel like he's like such a contrarian in a way. Like, he just, I don't know if contrarian's the right word, but like he is the kind of person that seems to me like, even though he's finding peace with like his new situation, or not new situation, but just like with him like fully embracing himself, fully embracing his sexuality, fully embracing like where he is in the world. It's like he wants his mom to be on board with that because he loves her so much and he values her so much that he wants her to be a part of it. He wants her to be a part of his journey. He wants her to love his boyfriend. I mean, Michael. And I think what's really interesting is that, like, for Carmichael's mother, she's uncomfortable with the situation for religious reasons and possibly for personal reasons. But she loves her son, and she's trying to make concessions even in the midst of like kind of disagreeing and like not even being on board. Um to me, I thought that was like really sort of beautiful and really thoughtful. Like, you can't really expect your parents to be okay with everything that you do, to be okay with everything, with like how you identify. And maybe I'm wrong, but like, to me, it seems like Jerrod Carmichael wants his mom to like understand where he's coming from, to sort of like get it, and then love him like 100%, um, with the way that he chooses to live his life. And I don't really think that that's like really, I mean, like, I would want my mom to be okay with me and love me and everything. But I'm also okay with the fact that like my parents are not going to like everything I do. They haven't liked everything I've done in the past. I mean, before I was you know, working on my walk with God, and like where I'm going with that, they they were not happy with the stances I was taking. They were not happy with the the anti-war stuff, the radical feelings I had toward homeless outreach and like societal change and justice. Um, I still have a lot of passions for all those things, but I just don't go about them the way I used to anymore. Um, I just think like, when like you get older and you start to think of like other ways to go about getting your goals accomplished. And when you're younger, you're a lot more like, I don't know. Like you just kind of think like, you're going to have forever and that you're never going to die. And and that like this moment that we're in right now is the most important and also not important. Like it's like right now is very important and we got to do something about it. But at the same time, we don't have to do anything and it doesn't matter. It's like life will continue regardless. And so like, like for a while, like my parents were so like not on board with how I wanted to do things, how I risked arrest and went to DC and all these things, you know what I mean? And especially when George Bush was the president, that was probably the highlight of my activism time. And so I think about Jerrod Carmichael and I think about like his process and his growth and his journey, and I think he's hilarious. I think he's so funny. I think like it's really really important that like his content exists. It's really important. I think it's important. Whether you agree with him or not, it's important that his content exists because he is a person. He does deserve to be respected and to be valued and to be loved and honored and embraced. And if you don't agree with him, that doesn't mean that he shouldn't be doing or expressing himself in whatever way he wants to. If he was a Christian, obviously my critique of that, or like, I mean, I think he thinks he's a Christian, and so like in dealing with that and working on that, I would come at it from a different angle, a different way of speaking about it. Um, but in my experience, in the course of this show, watching the Jerrod Carmichael reality show, I really don't know if I would do that. I don't think I would like. I think I did in the past, like do things that would like predictably make my parents uncomfortable because I thought by making them uncomfortable, it would lead us to have a conversation that they don't normally want to have and talk about certain things that they normally wouldn't talk about. So I get that from Jerrod Carmichael with like how he like wants to address the elephant in the room. I don't know if I agree with how he went about it. I think the show's good. I think he's made a point of the value of camera in his life. How like he feels that he's able to do uncomfortable things when it's on camera, and that like cameras forever, right? So it's like in some ways like watching his content has like helped me to see that like although I've had radio shows and I've had like all only audio, that I think there's a part of me that like is like no, like I want to be recording, I want audio, I want visual, I want like people to see me. I also want it's like I want to engage with you, the viewer and the listener, and then like make it like more right. But I also kind of see the value in audio only because because there isn't like this recorded thing except my voice that I could just kind of say what I need to say, walk around, do whatever I'm going to do, you know. Anyway, so I feel like I understand that. I feel like I understand that too about him. But I think in the second to last episode, he talked about Jamar and talked about that on the show, on the episode of the podcast. And then I think after that, there was a home visit. I believe it was like a home visit, um, where where his mom and him spend time with his boyfriend, and and um, and it's like a good time. I could be wrong, but I know in the last episode, Jerrod Carmichael's really, really excited about having his mom visit New York. And he goes out of his way to find a church that accepts gay people. Um, or that is gay friendly or gay accepting, queer accepting. And what I thought was really interesting is that the first thought I had at those watching this episode was that I wonder if they're going to go to First Corinthian Baptist Church with Pastor Mike Walren. And then as the episode unfolds, or like you go into the episode more, they're in First Corinthian Baptist Church, and it's Pastor Mike Walren. And I know Pastor Mike Walren. I used to do community organizing work with him as a part of the Micah Institute. And the Micah Institute was this interfaith um, a group that used to meet with the Jewish community, the Muslim community, the Christian community, um, the radical community, this diverse communities in the city working on issues regarding homelessness, housing, um, employment, wages, living conditions, environmental issues, basically like anything that's really regarding like like anything regarding culture in New York City from a faith perspective, from an interfaith perspective, which means like different faiths working together for a common cause. And one of those men who were a part of that board, um, men and women, but was Michael Walren or Mike Walren of First Corinthian Baptist Church. Mike Walren is a graduate of, I believe, Morehouse College. I believe it's Morehouse College, same college as Martin Luther King. Like Mike Walren, when I used to hear him preach, I was like, whoa, this is the closest I've ever seen Martin Luther King Jr. in my experience. Just like the way he orates, preaching, and the way he goes about social justice. Reminded me of how I felt when I used to listen to Tim Keller live. Tim Keller to me reminded me of possibly what it might be like meeting C.S. Lewis. Everybody knows that Tim Keller was like a huge fan of C.S. Lewis, and so it made sense that when he articulated himself, it sounded similar to C.S. Lewis. Same thing with Pastor Walren. Pastor Walren, when he articulates himself, it definitely brings you to thoughts of Martin Luther King Jr. And in the episode, he meets with Mike Walren with his mom, and Mike goes over scripture with her, and he's like, listen, I agree with you. I don't think that it I don't agree with it, but I'm not going to try and use the Bible to prove my point, or set Jerrod straight, or I'm just like, personally, I feel as a Christian that it's not good. It's not good. It's not what I believe. But as far as like God's love and God's heart toward Jerrod Carmichael, it's like God loves Jerrod Carmichael. God has a plan for Jerrod, and so we have to allow God to work in Jerrod's life. And even after meeting with Pastor Carmichael, Pastor Walren, Jerrod's mom still disagrees. But I think it helps her to sort of like onboard with her son, with this new revelation in his life, this sort of like accepting of himself, identifying as gay, feeling that he's been this way his whole life, um, all these things. I mean, he goes about it in different ways, and the ways that he does, and it's very funny. And it's very like cringe too, but yeah, it's like for a final episode. I mean, for a final episode, I thought it was pretty good, and I wanted to talk about it on here because I have been talking about Jerrod Carmichael, and I was watching it every Friday, and and so things have happened, and so I wanted to just kind of bring it to a close, bring it together, and kind of just share with you guys my like final thoughts on the last episode. And the last episode to me were very good. He's such a talented creator and artist. Um, I'm really happy that Pastor Walrond is out there. That First Corinthian Baptist Church is still doing it. They're providing space for people. I don't organize with First Corinthian Baptist Church anymore, but I was very happy to see him in the episode, and knowing him, and feeling like, hey, I feel confidence for Jerrod Carmichael and his boyfriend. Um, I don't I don't agree. I'm in the same boat as his mom. Um, but I think that like we need to be okay with struggling, um, to meet people where they're at, and as we disagree, continue to make opportunity for reconciliation, opportunity for conversation, opportunity for growth, opportunity for revelation. I believe ultimately that God is good. He's a good God. He's faithful. He's merciful. He's forgiving. And I believe that ultimately, um, the plans that God has for Jerrod Carmichael will be accomplished. Um, I mean, sexuality is a really, really, it's complicated. It's really complicated. And it's just hard. It's a complicated thing. It's really hard. And all I can really say is I think like we really need to just be patient with people, and give them a benefit of the doubt, and like love them, and allow space for grace. Allow space for grace, and get them closer to as close as we can to the Lord. Love them as they're loving us, and provide space. And the way I have taken that on as providing space is like I just do life. I do life with them. Do life with people. Do life with people that are different than you. Do life with people that you disagree with. Do life with people that you could learn from and grow with. You know, you never know. They might have like a great idea for business, different kinds of things. They might be able to help you to be a better person. Um, Even though like you um understand yourself to have a different sexual orientation, that doesn't mean that you can't help each other, that you can't support each other, that you can't learn from each other. And ultimately, I think that's really like what it's all about. I mean, my my brother-in-law from my stepfather's side, he identifies as gay, and ever since the Trump election of 2016, where my family like voted for Trump. He, and I mean, so much has happened since then. But ever since then, he's just always like he felt that that was like a vote against himself. That like my family had like severed their ties with him, and they did not care about him. They did not care about his survival and or whatnot. And my mom was like, "I love you. Like I always love you." And I mean, for all practical purposes, my brother-in-law has not talked to our family ever since. Ever since then. I think that's stupid, but I also think that's like, wow, he's so hurt. Like, my prayer is that there would be an opportunity for a conversation, for an ongoing conversation, for an opportunity for him to see my mom's heart and to grow and learn and like a space. There's just like a space for grace. Um, but yeah, for him, it was it was not just some light matter. It was huge. And back in 2016 when Trump got elected, a lot of folks, a lot of folks were very, very, very afraid. And in that time period, how Christians carried themselves spoke a lot to the greater population on our ability to be tolerant, our ability to hear them out and like a real opportunity to show the world, to show the communities of the world that we are patient, that we are listening, that we do believe in compassion, that we do want to be like Jesus, that we do want to honor these people, honor them, and value them, and give them a space in society to be themselves. And I think, I think in a lot of ways, the evangelical community, evangelical Christianity, failed. They failed big time in that time period, big time. And that's why Jerrod feels the way he feels. That's why a lot of people feel the way they feel, because Christians have not been great. Christians have not been great. And I thank God that He's so rich in mercy that He provides us a space to be great. And ultimately, that's what I felt from the final episode. Is that him and his mom, Jerrod and his mom, were hanging out. They were working on their lives together. Michael was a part of the family, and they were working it out, and they were trying to figure it out together. And I think ultimately that's all you can ask for, is that family is difficult, family is hard, but like you just continue to show up. You just continue to show up, and you never know what could happen. You never know what could happen. Ultimately, you choose love. And as you choose love, there's all types of opportunity and possibilities. for change, for growth. And change, not like people becoming what you think they should be, but change meaning like how you both feel about each other changing and evolving and growing, leading to transformation and a deeper level of intimacy and love and respect for each other. So, thank you for listening to this episode of Who Dares Wins podcast. I'm JP. I'll see you around.